You know, I envy a lot of you sitting in this room this morning. Those of you who have been at River Road for years and years may have grown up here because this is such a special place. It was a crooked path that led me here, you might say. Back in the 90s, I was going to Second Baptist up the road and asked Ray Spence if he could give me some recommendations for books to read, because I was interested in furthering my spiritual education. And he said, well, why don't you go to the new seminary, BTSR? And I thought that sounded great. And I went there for several years, part-time, and taking courses that I was interested in. And one of the people that I met there who influenced me greatly, as he has undoubtedly influenced you, is Tom Graves. He was a professor of a top rank, and it was great. I got talking about having gone to BTSR with Billy Burford. You may remember him. He was the sort of the business manager here, interim business manager for a while, and got talking about going to BTSR. And he said, you ought to come to River Road because Tom Graves teaches a Sunday school class there. I hadn't known that. So the following Sunday, Amy and I were here and attended Tom's class until I was asked to teach Sunday school myself. One of the wonderful things that led me after I joined was we started a group called The Huddle, which is a group of men basically my age who get together every week and have for, I think, almost 7 years now. And it's a wonderful place, again, to be led in our spiritual lives. And there I met a wonderful friend now, Chester Phelps. I don't even have to say Phelps, do I? I just say Chester, and you know who I'm talking about. And he introduced us to the idea of thin places, the places in our lives where it seems like the border between heaven and earth becomes very thin, and we sense the presence of God, and it's something that we want to be looking for. I'll give you an example of it. One winter morning, Monday morning, I was driving to work and I was beating myself up because I hadn't arranged to have my parking lot plowed for Monday morning business opening. And I just criticizing myself, and my day was not going well. I even got to a traffic light where I had a red light and had to wait for a green light, and a truck with a blade on it went by, and I thought, oh, if I can just catch up with him. And I couldn't. I lost him. But when I got to my office, he was sitting in my parking lot. Now, that wasn't the thin place. He and I arranged for what needed to be plowed and arranged the price and got it all set, and I was so relieved. And I jumped in my car because I had to get to a meeting, and as I waited to get back out on the highway, I looked up through the snowy windshield and I said, did you do that? And that wasn't even the thin place. The thin place was when I realized that God didn't care about my parking lot being plowed. That was not the point. The point was he cared about me beating myself up and didn't want me to do that. and I could just feel the closeness of God sitting there in the snow waiting for the traffic. Now, we have a lot of thin places around here. It happens in worship. It happens when the choir sings, and I was going to mention this even before I heard it, but isn't it wonderful when they have a descant above the last verse of a hymn? I didn't know y'all were doing that this morning. But that to me is one of our thin places. There are thin places in the huddle. There are thin places in the trip that we took with the youth to Maine to work on a camp up there. There are thin places in the passport program. And there were thin places for me in Panama when we went there. And we couldn't even talk to the people we were serving because they didn't speak any English. We didn't speak any Kuna. They didn't even speak Spanish. So communication was difficult, but it was a thin place. River Road Church has come to be, I think, home for me in a way that no other church has in my life because of the leading of the Spirit here. And it is wonderful if you're watching out for it. So, all of us lead each other and contribute to each other's spiritual lives, and I will be grateful when you continue to lead me, and we can all be a descant.